Hello? 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 Okay, let's test this. Hello? Hello? Let's see what's popping. Hey, Raphael. Can you hear any music? Hey, Royce. Pretty and Lauren, hi. How are y'all doing? I hear some of you can hear the. Oh, not anymore? What? Oh my goodness, pretty. Dang, I don't know what's going on. Streamlabs was like, you just have to play it and it's gonna show. But I'm not seeing it. I wonder if I have to add it as a source. Hey, Zanita. Oh, he is much better, thank you. He is doing much better, my little one. And I am not too shabby myself, so. I'm not too shabby. How are you? I'm gonna figure this music thing out, I promise. I'm gonna figure it out and get this done. My kiddos have a dental appointment at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, so I have to make sure that we start early, I stop early, and I go to bed early because I have to be up by 6. Usually I go to bed at 1, a little after 1. That's not gonna work. Not gonna work. Yes, hi, Zanita. I'm so sorry I can't seem to figure out this music thing. Let's see. Mm, mm. Yeah, it's super early. They both start school early, And so we were trying to pick an early morning appointment. Usually, we will do like a 7 a.m. Actually, it's the same thing. It is a 7 a.m., but we have to wake up at 6, get ready, and then leave the house at like 6:30, 6:40, because it'll take about 20 minutes to get there. The hard part, which now that I think about it, I probably should have canceled the appointment, is that on our return, we're probably going to hit rush hour traffic. So I'm probably going to have to call both schools and ask for like a late start, like a permission slip kind of thing. Call them and say there's going to be a partial absence because they're going to get to school late, basically. Because I forgot about rush hour traffic in the mornings. I like taking the earliest appointment, which means going there is fast, but the return, that's when everybody's leaving for school or work. So we are definitely gonna get stuck. Hey Joelle, how you doing? Hello friends, welcome to my live stream. We are reading from Emma by Jane Austen today. I am streaming live on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram. So you can follow me on there. Like the live, share. You don't need to give me gifts, but absolutely tap to like. Whichever platform, give me some love. Chat and interact. That would be perfect. That is all I need. That is all I need. Alrighty, let's see. Do we have our usuals here? I don't think we do. Let me see if I can share to them, because we'll get a few people up in here. I'm so sad that I can't. You know, this is so interesting. Mateus! How are you? How are you? Mateus, I need your help. I need your help. So, Carmen mentioned this open call for Black femme narrators, like up and coming Black femme narrators by Macmillan. I've never done an audition and I really, really want to do one. Do you have any pointers? I mean, I am not expecting to get it, but I just want to sort of dip my toes into the waters, if you will, and submit an audition. Hey Donna, I see you. How are you? I was trying to see how to share, maybe on the monitor. Let me see. This is so crazy. Where art thou? Romeo, Romeo, where art thou, Romeo? I have music playing, but y'all can't hear it because of... It's very exciting, yes, Donna. I want to take part, but I'm not quite sure how to do so. All right. Can y'all hear me okay? I think it is due January 31st. I think it's due January 31st, so what I do on my phone? Here it is. It is very soon. Super duper soon. You know. Thank you for the share, Donna. As usual, we will start the reading at 10:30. So let's chit chat for a bit. Matthias, how are you? How are you doing? What's going on with you? Tell me all the things that are happening with you, my friend, if you're still here. I'm gonna connect one of these newfangled thingies, and we're all called on to step in. I opened my own TikTok and it is loud. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Hey, Ash. What's up? What's up, Ash? It's been a while, friend. How are you? It has been a hot minute, hasn't it? I'm trying to use one of these clicker thingies on my live. Oh, April is here as well. Let's go. Y'all made it right in the nick of time, because I'm gonna be starting in about 3 minutes. I know we were just live yesterday, but I swear it feels like I haven't been on here in a couple of days. It really feels like I have not been here in a while. Does it feel like that to you all? So funny. Let's see. Okay. Alrighty. I think we're about ready to get started. I'm trying to make sure that I can see all the screens. A million screens at once. Here we go. Beautiful. Was I? I seemed sleepy, didn't I? I'm trying to think. Oh, April came in right at the audition. Yes, Carmen Chantal, she's another narrator on here, mentioned that the Macmillan audio team had an open call for Black femme narrators, especially like up and coming ones. They wanted us all to audition. I'm not expecting to get it, but I would like to audition, because I think I'm not gonna start if I don't start. So I was very, very excited. Was it because I was sleepy yesterday? Oh yeah, because the little one didn't let me nap. Yes, that's correct. He did not let me nap. Anyway, we are almost at 10:30, friends. I have lemon tea again. No, yesterday was stress relief, so I have the beautiful message. Today it's just lemon tea. I'm cutting off the tag so it doesn't drip. And water. I didn't work out today, so I shouldn't be as tired. Thank you for the shares, Anita. I'm gonna get ready. Please grab your drinks. What are y'all drinking today? Let us know in the comments. Grab your knitting, grab your crafting, your crochet, your sewing, your quilting, your tatting, your art, and April, you shall hear slander about your little friend. You shall hear a lot of slander, because today he was sitting at dinner with us and he was like, Daddy, I'm sorry I am always interrupting when other people are talking. I will never do that again. We all know he's gonna do that in like the next 5 seconds, but it was the cutest thing where he used a big word, interrupting. And tonight he said that he didn't want to go to bed with his nighttime pull-ups. He says he's a big boy, so he wants to sleep without the pull-ups. He wants to sleep in regular underwear. I know that means that I'm gonna have to wash bed sheets tomorrow morning. But I'm not gonna stand in the way of a little kid trying to working hard at independence and growth. So we were gonna go down that path anyway. He has decided that he's ready for it. So I've just had to decide that I'm ready to do more laundry. I'm gonna have to wash a lot. We have the mattress cover, and someone told me that they actually have bed sheets that are waterproof, so I could get those. So all of that timeline has been moved up. Is what is it? What is his now? What he said he got me to watch Cars with him with Lightning McQueen and Tow Mater. We had fun this afternoon because he stayed home today as well. But he was much better. He was so lethargic in the morning. I was like, he's not ready. He said he's not ready. Mom, I'm not ready to go to school. Anyway, shall we get started? Let us get started, my darlings. Give me a second. I'm trying to get this clickety-clackety thing to start working. There we go. It starts, then it stops. Here we are. Beautiful. Y'all ready? He is. Yeah, please. Oh, thank you for the follow. Is it Marshmallow? Marcy. Let me know. Friends, let's get a few more people on here. We had 8 viewers. Please share, like, follow, subscribe. But those of you here, you know what we're doing. We're about to get started. Let's get it started. Ha! Let's get it started in here. New theme song. No, actually, we always have theme songs. I've been a nasty girl, nasty. We are on chapter 9, right? Chapter 9 of volume 2 of Emma by Jane Austen. We didn't get the chance to shoot the breeze yesterday. Can I just say that sometimes the descriptions are a little bit long-winded, just a tad long-winded. Do we need to know? You saw April, you are the best. Ash, you lot are phenomenal. Thank you. No Jane slander, but also yes. You know that Jane, if Jane was standing right in front of us, we would still slander her and still give her all the props, right? We'll be like, sis, we know you were telling a story, but dang, did you have to write like those long-winded paragraphs? Could a girl breathe? Could I catch my breath? Miss Austen in his house. Miss Austen. Giving us a little what's what. Theater mode. Trying to find... Oh, Stella! Stella is here. And we love it. No, I don't want that. I'm trying to... Here we go. Beautiful. Hey, Victor. English and Espanol. Welcome. Well, we have 10 people here. My word is bond. Can you hear me okay? Can I get some emojis in the chat to let me know that we're ready to get started? I'm gonna lean back a little bit. Stella is holding it down for me in YouTube. You're a darling. Thank you. And we have a few of the usual suspects up in here. Hey, Mars. Oh, can you help me pronounce your name properly? Marcy? Marsh? Ooh, Ash sent the heart. I got some hearts up in here. Ooh. Okay. Yeah, I'm very hyper. I had ice cream. I had some ice cream. That's what's happened. Yay! Stella can hear me. We're good to go. Oh, thank you, Ash. Well, thank you, Marcy. Welcome to the party. We are about to get started. I know you're like holding it down for the YouTube crew. It's been you, Zanita, and Nikki. Nikki's not in yes. No problem, Marcy. A name is important, yeah? Hey, Cookie. How you doing? I'm sorry. I cannot help but channel Joey Tribbiani from Friends. He was ridiculous and I love him. He and Phoebe were my faves. So, let us do Chapter 9 of Volume 2 of Emma by Jane Austen. Emma did not repent her condescension in going to the Coles. The visit afforded her many pleasant recollections the next day, and all that she might be supposed to have lost on the side of dignified seclusion must be amply repaid in the splendor of popularity. She must have delighted the Coles, worthy people who deserved to be made happy, and left a name behind her that would not soon die away. Perfect happiness, even in memory, is not common, and there were 2 points on which she was not quite easy. She doubted whether she had not transgressed the duty of woman by woman in betraying her suspicions of Jane Fairfax's feelings to Frank Churchill. It was hardly right, but it had been so strong an idea that it would escape her, and his submission to all that she told was a compliment to her penetration, which made it difficult for her to be quite certain that she ought to have held her tongue. The other circumstance of regret related also to Jane Fairfax, and there she had no doubt. She did unfeignedly and unequivocally, regret the inferiority of her own playing and singing. She did most heartily grieve over the idleness of her childhood, and sat down and practised vigorously an hour and a half. She was then interrupted by Harriet's coming in, and if Harriet's praise could have satisfied her, she might soon have been comforted. "Oh, if I could but play as well as you and Miss Fairfax." "Don't class us together, Harriet. My playing is no more like hers than a lamp is like sunshine." "Oh, dear, I think you play the best of the two. I think you play quite as well as she does. I am sure I had much rather hear you. Everybody last night said how well you played." Those who knew anything about it must have felt the difference. The truth is, Harriet, that my playing is just good enough to be praised, but Jane Fairfax's is much beyond it. "Well, I always shall think that you play quite as well as she does, or that if there is any difference, nobody would ever find it out. Mr. Cole said how much taste you had, and Mr. Frank Churchill talked a great deal about your taste, and that he valued taste much more than execution." "Ah, but Jane Fairfax has them both, Harriet." "Are you sure? I saw she had execution, but I did not know she had any taste. Nobody talked about it, and I hate Italian singing. There is no understanding a word of it. Besides, if she does play so very well, you know, it is no more than she is obliged to do, because she will have to teach. The Coxes were wondering last night whether she would get into any great family. How did you think the Coxes looked?" "Just as they always do, very vulgar." "They told me something," said Harriet rather hesitatingly, but it is nothing of any consequence." Emma was obliged to ask what they had told her, though fearful of its producing Mr. Elton. "They told me that Mr. Martin dined with them last Saturday." "Oh!" "He came to their father upon some business, and he asked him to stay to dinner." "Oh!" "They talked a great deal about him, especially Anne Cox. I do not know what she meant, but she asked me if I thought I should go and stay there again next summer." She meant to be impertinently curious, just as such an Anne Cox should be. "She said he was very agreeable the day he dined there. He sat by her at dinner. Miss Nash thinks either of the Coxes would be very glad to marry him." "Very likely. I think they are, without exception, the most vulgar girls in Highbury." This woman. Harriet had business at Ford's. Emma thought it most prudent to go with her. Another accidental meeting with the Martins was possible, and in her present state would be dangerous. Harriet, tempted by everything and swayed by half a word, was always very long at a purchase, and while she was still hanging over muslins and changing her mind, Emma went to the door for amusement. Much could not be hoped from the traffic of even the busiest part of Highbury. Mr. Perry walked hastily by, Mr. William Cox letting himself in at the office door, Mr. Cole's carriage horses returning from exercise, or a stray letter boy on an obstinate mule, were the liveliest objects she could presume to expect. And when her eyes fell only on the butcher with the stray, a tidy old woman travelling homewards from shop with her full basket, 2 curs quarrelling over a dirty bone, and a string of dawdling children round the baker's little bow window, eyeing the gingerbread, she knew she had no reason to complain, and was amused enough, quite enough still, to stand at the door. A mind lively and at ease can do with seeing nothing, and can see nothing that does not answer. She looked down the Randalls Road. The scene enlarged. 2 persons appeared, Mrs. Weston and her son-in-law. They were walking into Highbury, to Hartfield, of course. They were stopping, however, in the first place at Mrs. Bates's, whose house was a little nearer Randalls than Ford's, and had all but knocked when Emma caught their eye. Immediately they crossed the road and came forward to her, and the agreeableness of yesterday's engagement seemed to give fresh pleasure to the present meeting. Mrs. Weston informed her that she was going to call on the Bateses in order to hear the new instrument. "For my companion tells me," said she, "that I absolutely promised Miss Bates last night that I would come this morning. I was not aware of it myself. I did not know that I had fixed a day, but as he says I did, I am going now." "And while Mrs. Weston pays her visit, I may be allowed, I hope," said Frank Churchill, "to join your party and wait for her at Hartfield if you are going home." Mrs. Weston was disappointed. "I thought you meant to go with me. They would be very much pleased." "Me, I should be quite in the way, but perhaps I may be equally in the way here. Miss Woodhouse looks as if she did not want me. My aunt always sends me off when she is shopping. She says I fidget her to death, and Miss Woodhouse looks as if she could almost say the same. What am I to do?" "I am here on no business of my own," said Emma. "I am only waiting for my friend. She will probably have soon done, and then we shall go home. But you had better go with Mrs. Weston and hear the instrument. Well, if you advise it, but, with a smile, if Colonel Campbell should have employed a careless friend, and if it should prove to have an indifferent tone, what shall I say? I shall be no support to Mrs. Weston. She might do very well by herself. A disagreeable truth would be palatable through her lips, but I am the wretchedest being in the world at a civil falsehood. I do not believe any such thing, replied Emma. I am persuaded that you can be as insincere as your neighbors when it is necessary. But there is no reason to suppose the instrument is indifferent. Quite otherwise, indeed, if I understood Miss Fairfax's opinion last night. Do come with me, said Mrs. Weston, if it be not very disagreeable to you. It need not detain us long. We will go to Hartfield afterwards. We will follow them to Hartfield. I really wish you to call with me. It will be felt so great an attention, and I always thought you meant it. He could say no more, and with the hope of Hartfield to reward him, returned with Mrs. Weston to Mrs. Bates's door. Emma watched them in, and then joined Harriet at the interesting counter. If she wanted plain muslin, it was of never so beautiful, would still never match her yellow pattern. At last it was all settled, even to the destination of the parcel. Should I send it to Mrs. Goddard's, ma'am? asked Mrs. Ford. Yes, to Mrs. Goddard's. Only my pattern gown is at Hartfield. No, you shall send it to Hartfield, if you please. But then Mrs. Goddard will want to see it, and I could take the pattern gown home any day. But I shall want the ribbon directly, so it had better go to Hartfield, at least the ribbon. You could make it into 2 parcels, Mrs. Ford, could you not? It is not worth while, Harriet, to give Mrs. Ford the trouble of 2 parcels. No more it is. No trouble in the world, ma'am, said the obliging Mrs. Ford. Oh, but indeed I would much rather have it only in 1. Then, if you please, you shall send it all to Mrs. Goddard's. I do not know. No, I think, Miss Woodhouse, I may just as well have it sent to Hartfield, and take it home with me at night. What do you advise? That you do not give another half-second to the subject. To Hartfield, if you please, Mrs. Ford. Aye, that will be much best, said Harriet, quite satisfied. I should not at all like to have it sent to Mrs. Goddard's. Voices approached the shop, or rather 1 voice and 2 ladies. Mrs. Weston and Miss Bates met them at the door. Not Miss Bates. Not Miss Bates. My dear Miss Woodhouse, said the latter, I am just run across to entreat the favour of you to come and sit down with us a little while, and give us your opinion of our new instrument. You and Miss Smith. How do you do, Miss Smith? Very well, I thank you. And I begged Miss Weston to come with me, that I might be sure of succeeding. I hope Mrs. Bates and Miss Fairfax are very well. I am much obliged to you. My mother is delightfully well, and Jane caught no cold last night. How is Mr. Woodhouse? I am so glad to hear such a good account. Mrs. Weston told me you were here. Oh, then, said I must run across. I am sure Miss Woodhouse will allow me just to run across and entreat her to come in. My mother will be so very happy to see her, and now we are such a nice party, she cannot refuse. Ay, pray do, said Mr. Frank Churchill. Miss Woodhouse's opinion of the instrument will be worth having. But, said I shall be more sure of succeeding if one of you will go with me. Oh, said he, wait half a minute till I have finished my job. For would you believe it, Miss Woodhouse, there he is, in the most obliging manner in the world, fastening in the rivet of my mother's spectacles. The rivet came out, you know, this morning, so very obliging, for my mother had no use of her spectacles, could not put them on. And, by the by, everybody ought to have 2 pair of spectacles. They should indeed. Jane said so. I meant to take them over to John Saunders the first thing I did, but something or other hindered me all the morning. First one thing, then another. There is no saying what, you know. At one time, Patty came to say she thought the kitchen chimney wanted sweeping. Oh, said I, Patty, do not come with your bad news to me. Here is the rivet of your mistress's spectacles out. Then the baked apples came home. Mrs. Wallace sent them by her boy. They are extremely civil and obliging to us, the Wallaces, always. I have heard some people say that Mrs. Wallace can be uncivil and give a very rude answer, but we have never known anything but the greatest attention from them. And it cannot be for the value of our custom now, for what is our consumption of bread, you know? Only 3 of us, besides dear Jane at present, and she really eats nothing, makes such a shocking breakfast, you would be quite frightened if you saw it. I dare not let my mother know how little she eats, so I say one thing, and then I say another, and it passes off. But about the middle of the day she gets hungry, and there is nothing she likes so well as these baked apples, and they are extremely wholesome, for I took the opportunity the other day of asking Mr. Perry. I happened to meet him in the street. Not that I had any doubt before. I have so often heard Mr. Woodhouse recommend a baked apple. I believe it is the only way that Mr. Woodhouse thinks the fruit thoroughly wholesome. We have apple dumplings, however, very often. Patty makes an excellent apple dumpling. Well, Mrs. Weston, you have prevailed, I hope, and these ladies will oblige us. Emma would be very happy to wait on Mrs. Bates and Co., and they did at last move out of the shop with no farther delay from Miss Bates than, "How do you do, Mrs. Ford? I beg your pardon. I did not see you before. I hear you have a charming collection of new ribbons from town. Jane came back delighted yesterday. Thank ye. The gloves do very well, only a little too large about the wrist, but Jane is taking them in. What was I talking of?" said she, beginning again when they were all in the street. Emma wondered on what of all the medley she would fix. "I declare I cannot recollect what I was talking of. Oh, my mother's spectacles, so very obliging of Mr. Frank Churchill. Oh, said he, I do think I can fasten the rivet. I like a job of this kind excessively, which, you know, showed him to be so very. Indeed, I must say that, much as I had heard of him before, and much as I had expected, he very far exceeds anything. I do congratulate you, Mrs. Weston, most warmly. He seems everything the fondest parent could. Oh, said he, I can fasten the rivet. I like a job of that sort excessively. I never shall forget his manner. And when I brought out the baked apples from the closet and hoped our friends would be so very obliging as to take some, "Oh," said he directly, "there is nothing in the way of fruit half so good, and these are the finest looking home-baked apples I ever saw in my life. That, you know, was so very—" and I am sure by his manner it was no compliment. Indeed, they are very delightful apples, and Mrs. Wallace does them full justice, only we do not have them baked more than twice, and Mr. Woodhouse made us promise to have them done 3 times. But Miss Woodhouse will be so good as not to mention it. The apples themselves are the very finest sort for baking, beyond a doubt, all from Dunwell, some of Mr. Knightley's most liberal supply. He sends us a sack every year, and certainly there never was such a keeping apple anywhere as one of his trees. I believe there is 2 of them. My mother says the orchard was always famous in her younger days, but I was really quite shocked the other day, for Mr. Knightley called one morning, and Jane was eating these apples, and we talked about them and said how much she enjoyed them, and he asked whether we were not got to the end of our stock. "I am sure you must be," said he, "and I will send you another supply, for I have a great many more than I can ever use. William Larkins let me keep a larger quantity than usual this year. I will send you some more before they get good for nothing." So I begged he would not, for really, as to ours being gone, I could not absolutely say that we had a great many left. It was but 6 indeed, but they should be all kept for Jane. And I could not at all bear that he should be sending us more, so liberal as he had been already, and Jane said the same. And when he was gone, she almost quarrelled with me. No, I should not say quarrelled, for we never had a quarrel in our lives, but she was quite distressed that I had owned the apple. I did say as much as I could. However, the very same evening William Larkins came over with a large basket of apples, the same sort of apples, a bushel at least, and I was very much obliged, and went down and spoke to William Larkins, and said everything as you may suppose. William Larkins is such an old acquaintance. I am always glad to see him. But, however, I found afterwards from Patty that William said it was all the apples of that sort his master had. He had brought them all, and now his master had not one left to bake or boil. William did not seem to mind it himself. He was so pleased to think his master had sold so many, for William, you know, thinks more of his master's profits than anything. But Mrs. Hodges, he said, was quite displeased at their being all sent away. She could not bear that her master should not be able to have another apple tart this spring. He told Patty this, but bid her not mind it, and be sure not to say anything to us about it, for Mrs. Hodges would be cross sometimes, and as long as so many sacks were sold, it did not signify who ate the remainder. And so Patty told me, and I was excessively shocked indeed. I would not have Mr. Knightley know anything about it for the world. He would be so very— I wanted to keep it from Jane's knowledge, but unluckily I had mentioned it before I was aware. Miss Bates had just done as Patty opened the door, and her visitors walked upstairs without having any regular narration to attend to, pursued only by the sounds of her desultory goodwill. "Pray take care, Mrs. Weston. There is a step at the turning. Pray take care, Miss Woodhouse. Ours is rather a dark staircase, rather darker and narrower than one could wish. Miss Smith, pray take care. Miss Woodhouse, I am quite concerned. I am sure you hit your foot. Miss Smith, the step at the turning." And that was the end of chapter 9. Jane Austen. Did we just read a whole chapter about Mr. Knightley sending a bag of apples to the Bateses? Was that the whole chapter? And that took us to 11 p.m. already. Hey Alyssa, how you doing? The whole chapter, and they said the house was basically kitty corner or super diagonally across from the Fords. So Miss Bates came to the store, talked, and then tucked their ear off while they crossed the road back to their house. That was utterly ridiculous. And Miss Jane Austen made us read all of that. See, April, I can talk smack about her. This chapter was one of those. Like, can a girl breathe? How you doing, Alyssa? Welcome. Is it our Aussie friend? Or is this a new Alyssa joining the party? Alrighty, friends. Thank you for hanging in there. Give us some emojis. Share the live. Let's see if we can go through chapter 10. I'm checking how many pages. $13, $14, $15, 15 pages. Okay. I think we can do it. I know I have to go to bed early, but I mean, I'm perfectly happy to stop here. You think, huh? Oh, thank you, Zanita. You think Miss Bates must have been a lonely child, huh? What do you all think? She really is quite a chatterbox. I mean, her mind works similar to mine, but she goes on tangents a little bit more rapidly, like the way she makes all these connections and gives you a little background about every detour she takes. No, it is Goober. It's Goober that's on YouTube. She is pretty thankful. Like, she's super sweet, so you kind of feel bad about telling her, hey Dee, thank you for the like. You feel bad about telling her, slow your roll, lady, slow your roll. But that was a lot. Oh my goodness, yeah. Well, I think Pretty came back. Okay. Sierra High. Okay. 15 pages. Y'all think we should try for it? We should go for it? My word. So all 11 of you in here and the 2 of you on YouTube, I put a video on the Tiki-Talkie app about sharing something nice and lovely. So when we're done, if you have a minute, go leave a comment. Share something sweet. Something that's made your day, that you're comfy sharing. Let's spread a little bit of joy and hope, because some of the things happening are, they feel like we're all living in some very interesting dystopian future, and I really kind of wish we had Jane Austen here to document some of these things, because I would love to see the solid god tier insults she would put in there, and her descriptions, the tongue-in-cheekisms, and just the really witty observations. It would be nice to read them. Thank you for the likes, friends. Hey, Sabina Jatal. Okay. Let's try for chapter 10, eh? Okie dokie. We are on chapter 10 of volume 2 of Emma by Jane Austen. The appearance of the little sitting room as they entered was tranquillity itself. Mrs. Bates, deprived of her usual employment, slumbering on one side of the fire. Frank Churchill at a table near her, most deedily occupied about her spectacles, and Jane Fairfax standing with her back to them, intent on her pianoforte. Busy as he was, however, the young man was yet able to show a most happy countenance on seeing Emma again. "This is a pleasure," said he in rather a low voice, "coming at least 10 minutes earlier than I had calculated. You find me trying to be useful. Tell me if you think I shall succeed." "What?" said Mrs. Weston. "Have not you finished it yet? You would not earn a very good livelihood as a working silversmith at this rate." "I have not been working uninterruptedly," he replied. "I have been assisting Miss Fairfax in trying to make her instrument stand steadily. It was not quite firm. An unevenness in the floor, I believe. You see, we have been wedging one leg with paper. This was very kind of you to be persuaded to come. I was almost afraid you would be hurrying home." He contrived that she should be seated by him, and was sufficiently employed in looking out the best baked apple for her, and trying to make her help or advise him in his work, till Jane Fairfax was quite ready to sit down to the pianoforte again. That she was not immediately ready, Emma did not suspect to arise from the state of her nerves. She had not yet possessed the instrument long enough to touch it without emotion. She must reason herself into the power of performance, and Emma could not but pity such feelings, whatever their origin, and could not but resolve never to expose them to her neighbour again. At last Jane began, and though the first bars were feebly given, the powers of the instrument were gradually done full justice to. Mrs. Weston had been delighted before, and was delighted again. Emma joined her in all her praise, and the pianoforte, with every proper discrimination, was pronounced to be altogether of the highest promise. "Whoever Colonel Campbell might employ," said Frank Churchill with a smile at Emma, "the person has not chosen ill. I heard a good deal of Colonel Campbell's taste at Weymouth, and the softness of the upper notes, I am sure, is exactly what he and all that party would particularly prize. I dare say, Miss Fairfax, that he either gave his friend very minute directions, or wrote to Broadwood himself. Do not you think so?" Jane did not look round. She was not obliged to hear. Mrs. Weston had been speaking to her at the same moment. "It is not fair," said Emma in a whisper. "Mine was a random guess. Do not distress her." He shook his head with a smile, and looked as if he had very little doubt and very little mercy. Soon afterwards he began again. "How much your friends in Ireland must be enjoying your pleasure on this occasion, Miss Fairfax. I dare say they often think of you, and wonder which will be the day, the precise day of the instrument's coming to hand. Do you imagine Colonel Campbell knows the business to be going forward just at this time? Do you imagine it to be the consequence of an immediate commission from him, or that he may have sent only a general direction, an order indefinite as to time, to depend upon contingencies and conveniences?" He paused. She could not but hear. She could not avoid answering. "Till I have a letter from Colonel Campbell," said she, in a voice of forced calmness, "I can imagine nothing with any confidence. It must be all conjecture." "Conjecture, aye. Sometimes one conjectures right, and sometimes one conjectures wrong. I wish I could conjecture how soon I shall make this rivet quite firm. What nonsense one talks, Miss Fairfax said something about conjecturing. There, it is done. I have the pleasure, madam," to Mrs. Bates, "of restoring your spectacles, healed for the present." He was very warmly thanked both by mother and daughter. To escape a little from the latter, he went to the pianoforte and begged Miss Fairfax, who was still sitting at it, to play something more. "If you are very kind," said he, "it will be one of the waltzes we danced last night. Let me live them over again. You did not enjoy them as I did. You appeared tired the whole time. I believe you were glad we danced no longer, but I would have given worlds, all the worlds one ever has to give, for another half hour." She played. What felicity it is to hear a tune again which has made one happy. If I mistake not, that was danced at Weymouth. She looked up at him for a moment, colored deeply, and played something else. He took some music from a chair near the pianoforte, and turning to Emma, said, "Here is something quite new to me. Do you know it? Kramer. And here are a new set of Irish melodies, that, from such a quarter, one might expect. This was all sent with the instrument. Very thoughtful of Colonel Campbell, was not it? He knew Miss Fairfax could have no music here. I honor that part of the attention particularly. It shows it to have been so thoroughly from the heart. Nothing hastily done, nothing incomplete. True affection only could have prompted it." Emma wished he would be less pointed, yet could not help being amused. And when, on glancing her eye towards Jane Fairfax, she caught the remains of a smile, when she saw that with all the deep blush of consciousness there had been a smile of secret delight, she had less scruple in the amusement, and much less compunction with respect to her. This amiable, upright, perfect Jane Fairfax was apparently cherishing very reprehensible feelings. He brought all the music to her, and they looked it over together. Emma took the opportunity of whispering, "You speak too plain. She must understand you." "I hope she does. I would have her understand me. I am not in the least ashamed of my meaning." "But really, I am half ashamed, and wish I had never taken up the idea." "I am very glad you did, and that you communicated it to me. I have now a key to all her odd looks and ways. Leave shame to her. If she does wrong, she ought to feel it." "She is not entirely without it, I think." "I do not see much sign of it. She is playing Robin Adair at this moment, his favorite." Shortly afterwards, Miss Bates, passing near the window, Rewind selector. Shortly afterwards, Miss Bates, passing near the window, descried Mr. Knightley on horseback not far off. Mr. Knightley, I declare, I must speak to him if possible, just to thank him. I will not open the window here. It would give you all cold, but I can go into my mother's room, you know. I dare say he will come in when he knows who is here. Quite delightful to have you all meet so. Our little room so honored. She was in the adjoining chamber while she still spoke, and opening the casement there, immediately called Mr. Knightley's attention, and every syllable of their conversation was as distinctly heard by the others as if it had passed within the same apartment. "How do you do? How do you do?" "Very well, I thank you. So obliged to you for the carriage last night. We were just in time. My mother just ready for us. Pray come in. Do come in. You will find some friends here." So began Miss Bates, and Mr. Knightley seemed determined to be heard in his turn, for most resolutely and commandingly did he say, "How is your niece, Miss Bates? I want to inquire after you all, but particularly your niece. How is Miss Fairfax? I hope she caught no cold last night. How is she today? Tell me how Miss Fairfax is." And Miss Bates was obliged to give a direct answer before he would hear her in anything else. The listeners were amused, and Mrs. Weston gave Emma a look of particular meaning. But Emma still shook her head in steady skepticism. "So obliged to you, so very much obliged to you for the carriage," resumed Miss Bates. He cut her short with, "I am going to Kingston. Can I do anything for you?" "Oh, dear Kingston, are you? Mrs. Cole was saying the other day she wanted something from Kingston." "Mrs. Cole has servants to send. Can I do anything for you?" "No, I thank you, but do come in. Who do you think is here? Miss Woodhouse and Miss Smith, so kind as to call to hear the new pianoforte. Do put up your horse at the Crown and come in." "Well," said he, in a deliberating manner, "for 5 minutes, perhaps." "And here is Mrs. Weston and Mr. Frank Churchill, too. Quite delightful, so many friends." "No, not now, I thank you. I could not stay 2 minutes. I must get on to Kingston as fast as I can." He really doesn't want to hang out with Frank Churchill. "Oh, do come in. They will be so very happy to see you." "No, no, your room is full enough. I will call another day and hear the pianoforte." "Well, I am so sorry. Oh, Mr. Knightley, what a delightful party last night. How extremely pleasant. Did you ever see such dancing? Was not it delightful? Miss Woodhouse and Mr. Frank Churchill, I never saw anything equal to it." "Oh, very delightful indeed. I can say nothing less. For I suppose Miss Woodhouse and Mr. Frank Churchill are hearing everything that passes. And," raising his voice still more, "I do not see why Miss Fairfax should not be mentioned too. I think Miss Fairfax dances very well, and Mrs. Weston is the very best country dance player, without exception, in England. Now, if your friends have any gratitude, they will say something pretty loud about you and me in return, but I cannot stay to hear it." "Oh, Mr. Knightley, one moment more. Something of consequence. So shocked. Jane and I are both so shocked about the apples." "What is the matter now?" "To think of you sending us all your store apples. You said you had a great many, and now you have not one left. We really are so shocked. Mrs. Hodges may well be angry. William Larkins mentioned it here. You should not have done it. Indeed, you should not. Ah, he is off. He never can bear to be thanked. But I thought he would have stayed now. and it would have been a pity not to have mentioned. Well, returning to the room, I have not been able to succeed. Mr. Knightley cannot stop. He is going to Kingston. He asked me if he could do anything. Yes, said Jane. We heard his kind offers. We heard everything. Oh, yes, my dear. I dare say you might, because the door was open and the window was open, and Mr. Knightley spoke loud. You must have heard everything, to be sure. Can I do anything for you at Kinferry? And on examining watches, so much of the morning was perceived to be gone, that Mrs. Weston and her companion, taking leave also, could allow themselves only to walk with the two young ladies to Hartfield gates before they set off for Randalls. And that was chapter 10. We did it. We did it with only 6 minutes over time. Listen, the theatrics are top tier. Honestly, I don't know if April is still on there. Stella, you're here. Alyssa, Donna, Lady D, maybe all of you. Ash, Zanita. Who would we cast for Miss Bates if we had, the lottery winnings? Who would we cast? I feel like we need to cast her. She's giving because she has so many lines. You were not kidding, April. We're like, wait for Miss Bates. Yes, she's giving, and she needs. Oh, I got somebody joining. Audiobook engineer joined on Instagram. Who are we casting? Yes, woohoo, Alyssa, we did it. Y'all, throw your choices in the chat. We need to cast. We are looking for actors, actresses who could play Miss Bates in our own modern remake of Emma. It could be full-time actors or musicians/actors. We don't discriminate. Emma Thompson, yes. That's true. Yes, I love that woman. You're so right. Emma Thompson, top contender. Anyone else? Anyone else lately? When I was reading her, I was channeling one of the people from, I think I was trying to channel somebody from Downton Abbey, but I don't remember who I was channeling. But maybe the woman who played Bridget Jones' mom, Jennifer Lawrence. Why is that? Is that the lady who played Mystique? Jennifer Lawrence from Hunger Games? No, that's not her name, right? Olivia Colman. Ooh, Alyssa has Olivia Colman. Hey, Shri, welcome. Shri Mahayani. Jennifer Lawrence. Is that her name? Oh, my Lord. Jennifer was Katniss. Yes. Okay, Everdeen. I feel like I watched half of the first Hunger Games movie. Olivia Colman is a better choice. Fight. We gonna duke this out. I love our casting decisions, for real. Olivia Colman. Oh, she is. Oh, yes. Okay, April, I'm feeling like Olivia Colman might be. Yes, Jennifer Lawrence. Maybe Jennifer Lawrence plays Jane Fairfax. Hey, Lavon, welcome. What do we think? Oh my gosh. I love Olivia Lawrence. Jennifer Schrader Lawrence. Oh, she's like a British actress, right? She was on Broadchurch. Like, when you see her, I feel like the way she acts. Apparently, she was in Fleabag, which I want to watch, by the way. I want to watch Fleabag because I love the priest. What's his name? Andrew Scott. Yes. So I want to watch it for Andrew Scott because he's awesome. Is it? Okay, Alyssa said, yeah, really just reminds me of Mrs. Bennet from the BBC Pride and Prejudice version O, which I still haven't watched, friends. Still haven't watched it. It was the story that started this whole shenaniganing. Yes, I feel like, maybe Emma Thompson should be Mrs. Weston. Olivia Colman, that's not bad. Yeah. She's good, peeps. Kristen Scott Thomas, I haven't seen her in a while. Fiona Shaw is also in Fleabag. Fiona Shaw is amazing. She was Aunt Petunia, and every time I see her, April, I know, I'm so sorry. Please forgive my sins. I still haven't. I've barely watched a lot of TV recently. Forgive my sins. I've been doing all this reading and learning. Yes, Alyssa, I know him as Moriarty from the Cumberbatch, which I need to rewatch. So many things to watch, so little time. I haven't even watched a Korean drama in months. I started one with my ex called Trunk. I watched half of the first episode. That's how little TV I've been watching. But yeah, I know Fleabag has Andrew Scott because I saw a snippet with him in it and I was like, I need to watch this show, but I haven't seen it yet. Anyway, let's keep casting then. Did we ever decide who Knightley was going to be? I think I wanted Taron Egerton in there, but I don't know who he was going to play. Oh man. I'm gonna need to get the Pride and Prejudice what do you call it, casting list from April and make like a little Canva video and post it. That's exactly what I need to do. Anyway, my loves, tomorrow is Wednesday, so we shall pick up. We made good progress. We were able to get through 2 chapters, and so we will be on chapter 11 of volume 2. That takes us to a little bit of halfway through the book, actually. So tomorrow I'm gonna post a video. I'm gonna post a video for the subscribers to start sending in their nominations for our next book. I know it's gonna take a while, but we need to get that. Oh, I have an announcement. I'm gonna be offline from February. Oh my god, calendar. Where's the calendar? Where are you, calendar? Show me. Here we go. Please don't get mad. I'm gonna be offline for 2 weeks. So I'm gonna be off from, so after the last one we do on the 13th, which is Thursday, Nisi After Dark, I will be offline for the next 2 weeks. So the next time I'll be on will be Monday, March 3rd. I'll miss you all. I will make a post about that as well, but I will be offline. No live readings. Let's see. Wait a hot minute, Alyssa. They did have the 5 Pips mystery. Okay, I have to rewatch the Cumberbatch. I thought they were gonna make a last one. I thought they were gonna make a last Sherlock, right? Didn't they say they were gonna make a last Sherlock? Am I remembering wrongly? I thought they were. really thought they were going to make a last season, right? Oh, man. Oh, so they were planning to make a fifth series, but they didn't have any immediate plans. Oh. Oh, man. So the last comment on the TikTok chat is April saying, "Denise, you haven't watched it yet. Now I feel like I'm being judged." Can someone write another comment there? Can someone have another comment out there? Yeah, I type another comment. Alrighty. Well, let's end here and we will pick it up tomorrow. Thank you all so much. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you. You are absolutely judging. I love it. I know it's friendly judging. Alyssa, I might have to join you on this rewatch, is what I say, but who knows. Anyway, before we go, I don't know who all is up here, but can we get to 10K likes? Is that a possibility at all? How many likes are we at? I don't even know. I can't see. 6,665 likes. Oh. Show me love. Show me light. Baby, show me what it's all about. I hope this click clackety thing is gonna work. Oh, Dee, thank you. Have a good night. Have a lovely night. I'm just gonna sit here and gab away till we get to 10K. So ask me whatever you want to ask. I'm gonna look for the Macmillan casting. Macmillan open casting black femme narrators. Baby, show me what is. Yep. Okay, it's called Up in Smoke. Up in Smoke. Okay. Oh my god, let me practice. Let me practice with all y'all. They've given us. Oh, it's not the 31st. The audition's closed on the 30th. Email your MP3 audio file to narrators@macmillan.com. Okay, let's see. Oh my gosh. Alrighty, here. I'm gonna practice right now. Yeesh. Okay. Chapter 5. Monique, the Visit. Untitled. In the canvas of life, a sister's love paints in the brightest hue, always in hopes of painting a picture as bright as you, my brother. Protected me like no other, comforted me, consoled me, the wing I stood under. Rain, sleet, snow, hail, not even a meteor shower can come between a love like ours. In every whispered secret, in every playful fight, a sister's love will forever shine its light. from childhood games under a setting sun, a bond unyielding that's never undone. To late night talks and rides through the streets, the lessons you've taught me I always will keep. I am your sister, your friend, your ride or die. I love you, my brother. Keep your head held high. I folded my poem and put it back in my pocket. I planned to give it to my brother when we saw him down at the jailhouse. Rain pelted the windshield as I stared out at the blurry world beyond. The city was such a mess, much like my life at that moment. My head was still spinning from the news of Jason being arrested, so much so I thought it twisted right off my shoulders. I glanced over at my mom, Sarah, in the driver's seat. She looked pale, her knuckles white as they gripped the steering wheel. We didn't say much. There were no words that could make this nightmare disappear. Besides, I already knew what she was thinking, that this was all her fault in some way, or that she had failed Jason. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Growing up, there were two things my mother preached to me and Jason relentlessly. Two things we should not, could not do in any circumstance. Rule number 1, no kids. Rule number 2, no jail. That was her Bible. I knew Jason being arrested, and for murder of all things, was eating away at her. I didn't have the privilege of only worrying about Jason. I had to worry about my mother too. And that made this whole thing all the more heavy. "It's going to be okay, Mom," I said, feeling the tension in the car. "I know it will, baby. This has to be a mistake. Jason? Murder? That's ridiculous." I knew she meant it, but still, her voice was unsure. Oh, my Lord. Anyway, darlings, 11K. What? What? Oh my goodness. You all are so lovely. 11K. That's above the goal. Thank you so much. Alyssa, you came over here too. Oh, thank you so much, y'all. Thank you. I will end the live here before I keep going and going and going. But I will see you all tomorrow. Yeah? Bring a friend. Bring a loved one. Let's enjoy 2 more chapters together. Thank you. And have a lovely, lovely night. Wait, I just saw somebody say Jennifer Lawrence is too young. Probably, yeah. For Miss Bates. Well. I see you, Elizabeth. Anyway, darlings. Have a good night. Thank you so much.